This is the Oudie N, this is my phone, and this is my laptop. I know I'm not here to brag, all of these devices are running SeeYou, which is why they are all here. This is a brand new series of videos we're going to be doing explaining how to use SeeYou, well, Cloud and SeeYou Navigator. But in this video, we're going to focus on the first start, the first time you log into SeeYou and how the user interface works. So we don't need this. Now, if you'd like to learn more about the Oudie N, Jake already did an unboxing, which will be somewhere above my head, or it will be down in the description below. A bit of housekeeping before we start. The Oudie N runs the SeeYou Navigator app, which is the exact same app you can use on your Android phone or your Apple phone. The entire user interface is identical, all the icons are the same, it works the exact same way, but obviously the Oudie N has slightly better sensors, a much better display and an enormous battery. And if you get the Oudie N IGC, it also has an IGC board inside it, so you can use it for badges, claims, racing, all that fun stuff. Now, because this is an Oudie N IGC, I can't install any screen recorder apps on it, so we're going to focus predominantly on my phone. So let's start with getting into SeeYou. The first time you boot your Oudie N is going to take you through a basic setup procedure, asking you for language, Wi-Fi, all that fun stuff, and then it's going to launch immediately into SeeYou. On the phone, you're going to have to go to whatever store you use. In this case, it's going to be the Play Store. Look up SeeYou. There we are. There it is, SeeYou Navigator. And install. Once that's done, it's going to ask you to log in. Now, the important thing with logging in is if you already have a SeeYou account, you need to use that SeeYou account, particularly if you have a subscription. That's because the Oudie N, if you've just bought it, comes with a 1-year subscription to all of the SeeYou services. Now, the device itself has a perpetual license, which means this will run SeeYou forever until it dies, whereas your phone will need a subscription to run. The first time you log in to your Oudie N is going to apply that 1-year subscription to whatever account you've just logged in with. Now, if you already have a subscription, don't worry, it will just add it to the end of your current term. And so you can see SeeYou has just launched, and because we all forget our passwords, Navigator have made this a little bit easier. So you can see I just need to provide my email address and ask for an email. Or if you haven't got an account, you can then sign with Google, sign with Apple, or go to the SeeYou Cloud and set up an account there. So let me just put in my email address. There I am, email me a login link, and you can now see if I wanted to, I could enter a password, but I don't want to. So let's go into my emails. I'm going to have to blur a lot of this out. And there you go, confirm login request. You can see I've done this a few times before already, and just allow login. And now it's going to ask me if I want to open SeeYou Navigator, and it should kick in. There we go. Now, I've already used SeeYou before, so I've got a few different backups of my previous setups. We're going to ignore that. The way logging on the Oudie works is the exact same way. So first startup, email me a login link, and it's going to, again, send me an email. So let's go back out of this, give it a second. There's the confirmation, allow login, and now the Oudie is logging in. And here's the first difference between the Oudie N and SeeYou Navigator. This device, specific device, is designed to be a gliding, a sailplane Oudie. There's also a paragliding variant, which has a few different features, a few different sensors, but because it's already been set up from factory, it doesn't need to know what kind of glider I'm flying. So I'm going to be flying sailplanes, and then I prefer a dark theme. Then it's going to ask me for access to locations, because again, the Oudie N has been set up from factory. You have to allow it to do this, because obviously it needs to know where you are. And then, yep, allow in settings, allow all the time. That means you'll be able to log all of your flights. Sure, why not? And then you can see it updated to the latest version as it installed. So it's telling me all the fixes and all the release notes, essentially. And you can see they opened on different pages, but that's fine. On the bottom here, you have the navigation bar. So you see this is on flight. If I click flight, it looks virtually the same. If I click logbook, it looks the same. If I click settings, it all looks the same. Now, you will notice in flight, I've got two different warnings. So this is asking me to select the regions I want to have offline maps for. And this one is telling me that this Oudie, because it's brand new, is out of date and I need to update it. So whenever you are here, you can just click here and it'll tell you exactly how to install it. And it's just literally a case of pressing the button and it's going to do its thing. Now we're going to move the Oudie into the side for a second and focus on the phone, because this is where I'm going to walk you through the user interface. The flight page is the first page I want to cover. It's where you set up all of your parameters. So you can see here, right at the top, we've got glider. If I click glider, you can see I already have some gliders saved. So for instance, there is my label. And if I click into that, you can see I can change all the settings, tell it different weights, set McCready settings, tell it I've got winglets. I don't, I wish. And also we have the edit page so we can change things. Now, if you don't have any gliders set up, because you probably won't do, you can create a new glider. So here we've got all of the gliders, probably not all of them, but the vast majority of the gliders. I'd like a Diana, so let's pick that one and give it a registration of G, A, B, C, D, competition number, let's try LX. Now it's asking you for a FLOM ID. You don't have to put this in, this is an optional thing, but if you do it and you're allowed to share your location to Oudie N, you will also be able to download Oudie N data in flight. So providing you've got a mobile signal, you can then see all of the Oudie N targets on the Oudie N without connecting it to something like a power mouse. But I'm going to skip that and we're just going to add it. And there you go, I now have my Diana, and if I want to change glider, they're all set there. Next is the target. This is a single point you want to navigate to. So you could pick nearest landing, waypoints, whatever you want. And right now you can see I haven't got any waypoints. We'll cover that in a second. Below here is your tasks. This is where you set up your tasking. You see you've got loads of options. You could use recent tasks if you already had them previously saved. You can scan a QR code. So if you get a task, you get a competition, you could scan it. Or if you got another friend who's got an Oudie N or SeeYou Navigator and they've set up the task you want to fly, they can just share with a QR code. You can download tasks from Soaring Spot, you can load them if you have them saved, and you can create them from scratch. I'm not going to cover creating tasks in this video. I will do a whole video just on tasks at some point in the very near future, but I want to draw your attention to devices. This is what trips up a lot of pilots. Normally, if you're used to using phones, you're going to go into your Bluetooth and you're going to see all of your devices. They're going to try and connect there. If you're trying to connect to something like a power mouse, for instance, that's not going to work. You need to go into here, into devices, click add, and then any devices that you can connect to will then show up. Again, I'll cover adding devices at another point, but this is where you connect. If we go into Logbook, yours will be empty, but you can see I've done a flight at some point. It looks like I actually drove from work to here. So you can click here and you can see all of your information about your flights, how fast you were going, how long the flight was, all that fun stuff. You can also open it in SeeYou, and then you can see a few more details. Now, as long as you are connected to the internet, this will automatically upload to SeeYou Cloud, and you can see it at home on your desktop without having to move any files around. But we'll close that for now. And finally, we have the settings page right at the far end. And you can see here you've got your active collections, your airspace, all that fun stuff. Now you can see here I already have some collections in place. You can set the collections up on SeeYou Cloud, and you can upload all the files there, and then automatically will be downloaded to your Oudie or to your SeeYou Navigator app. Or you can add a waypoint file here. So if you download it, for instance, from Navboys.com, it will show up in your downloads. You can just click it and install the latest waypoints. But if we activate them, we can now use navigation. Airspace, you can either use the airspace from SeeYou database, or you can again install your own personal airspace file that you've created or downloaded from Navboys.com. So I can click here and again, add airspace file, and again, you just straight to your downloads and you can install it there. We're going to just use the SeeYou database for this demonstration. And then you've got all of your information for airspaces here, so you can decide what you want to see, how far you want to see it. All of the configuration is here. Safety height, that is what you set your Oudie to. You don't want to be below that when you're doing a final glide, so we'll always aim to be above there. I'll tell you if you're on final glide. I fly with 0, so we'll set that. Attitude warning, so you can set a warning to just go off when you reach a certain altitude. I don't use that. And then we've got nav boxes and layouts. So here you can see every single nav box that you might want to use. You also got indicators that you can add to the page, and you've got buttons. Now you can set up this here, or I'll show you how to do it on the map screen in a minute. Layouts, you can see I've already got some saved layouts, but you can edit your pages up here. So you can add a page and it will duplicate the page that's currently there. And you can then modify pages to have different tasks. So for instance, you can have a racing page and you can have an AAT page. Offline data, this is where you select your airspace, obstacles, that sort of stuff if you don't think you're going to get mobile data. Vario settings. In general, for sailplanes, this is usually switched off, but in an emergency, if your Vario fails, you could turn it on. How accurate it is will depend entirely on how sensitive your sensors are in your phone. It works a bit better on the Oudie N, but realistically, this is predominantly for paragliding pilots. Thermal assistant, you can customize it all here. Map and layers is an important one. Obviously, you set things up like heading up here or north up, depending on which orientation you prefer. But if you go to configure map layers, you can see all of the layers you can then later see on the map, which I'll cover in a minute as well. Basically, if you don't want any of these things, you're never going to use it. You can switch it off and it's just not going to be there. It's going to be a lot easier to find whatever settings you would like. And then you've got obstacle settings. This is largely irrelevant for British pilots. Team code, and then account. Account isn't just your SeeYou account. If you click into here, you can see integrations, and here you can log in, for example, to things like SkySight. So you can see here, I've linked my SkySight, and that's important, which I will show you in a minute why. System settings, this is where you will set your units. So for instance, you can set it to British and make your life a bit easier. You can set full screen mode, so now you can see my top bar has disappeared. Help and support, you can send troubleshooting logs to Navigator to help diagnose any issues you may have, or you can go straight to the documentation in Navigator's support. And about, this is another important page, but only really if you want to just verify what version of SeeYou you're running. Okay, let's get to the map page because that's really where the fun stuff is. So on the map page, this is what you want to change. You'll want to set parameters that you want to see as opposed to the default ones. So first of all, let's look at nav boxes and how you can move them. If I press and hold any of these nav boxes, I now get a menu, and you can see I can add a nav box, edit nav box, move and resize, edit pages, and remove nav box. So that setting I showed you in settings, you can also do in here. So let's say I want a new nav box. I can come in here. I can maybe look at some buttons, and maybe I want the next turn point button. I can now set it how I want it. So I can make it any of the colors. I could make it just the outline. I could make it inversed. I'm going to make it black, and I'm going to make it just the outline and add it to my map page. And then I can move it around wherever I want to. And there's a little triangle here in the corner. If I press and hold that, I can change the size. So let's make that nice and small, and I'm going to move it over here. There we go. Now we have the next waypoint button there. If I want to change this, for instance, let's say I want to move and resize it. Let's make it a bit smaller and move it out of the way here. And when I'm done, I just press off. But I don't like the color of that, so I'm going to edit this nav box, and I'm going to make it green. And there you go. Now you can start separating your nav boxes with colors. You can already see I've got another page here. You won't, as standard, have another page, but let's just click another nav box, one of these here, and edit pages. And let's say I want to delete that one because I don't like it, but I want to add a new one. I can even change the name, so you can name it anything you'd like here, but let's name it page 2. Now when I am done, I can now click this button. Let's move this back out of the way again. Go. And you can see page 1 and page 2 are identical. So let's change page 2. Let's make this violet. Let's remove this nav box. Let's remove that one as well. We're going to move these nav boxes over here and I'm going to move this nav box over here. In fact, let's also remove this nav box and move this one over here. Cool. And then let's add the nav box. Let's say this is important to me. So I'm going to make that yellow, and I'm going to make it solid. And there we go, we have it. But also, I want this to be big. I want it to be noticeable. So I can make that quite sizable and just shove that right in here. There you go. Now, if I switch from pages, you can see I've got completely different nav boxes on both of these pages. And you can see the name I've set right there. So that's the nav boxes and the pages. Let's look at how else you can use the Oudie. So let's zoom out here, and you can see I'm connected to the internet, and I can see there's an Oudie N target right there. But the way I like to use it is I like to, as I'm flying along, have a look at what I'm about to fly into. So let's have a look here. Manchester TMA, and I can see exactly where it is. I can see what's here. Oh, there's Tilstock. And what airspaces are around. And I can just move around. Now, once I've finished looking around, I can just press recenter, and it's recentered me again. I can also make the zoom automatic, or I can zoom in with these buttons, or I can zoom in with my fingers. Let's say you don't know the waypoint for Manchester and you want to fly towards Manchester. I can just press and hold and click go to, and now I've got all the information for how to get towards Manchester. If I go back into here, you can see in my flight setup, my target has now changed. It was previously empty, but now we're heading here. If I clear the target and go back to my map, I have no targets anymore. The last button we haven't covered is this top one here, which is the layers one. And now you can see here that I can change all sorts of things. I could use a light map if I want to have different information, or I can go for the full detail and have a satellite map, and then I can really see everything. But it's not just the satellite map that you want to look at. I'm going to go back to terrain because I like that one specifically. You can now see here in the layers, all the layers I have enabled. So for instance, we've got live wind, and let's look at the rain. So let's zoom out. There's a bit of rain there and a bit of rain there, and that's coming from the SkySight integration. I could turn that off and you can now see that's gone, and that covers the user interface. Obviously on the Oudie N you can see same thing. I can also do all the things we spoke about. It's all still exactly the same, just in a device that's dedicated for the job. Now, you don't need to have a SeeYou subscription to use SeeYou Navigator. There is a free version of it, and that is a cut down version, so you don't have any navigation features, for instance. If you take off using the free version of SeeYou, it's going to immediately give you navigation back towards your airfield, which just allows you to get a taste for the software, or if you're just a local soaring pilot, it gives you another tool just to get home. The great thing about that though is you do get free logbook. So every single time you fly with the free version of SeeYou, you do get a logbook trace that you can then use to either update your actual logbook or to upload or anything like that. And then once you've played around with this for a bit in the free version, you could go to a task week or go to a competition and start your free trial for a week and see if you like it. But that's the SeeYou Navigator user interface. You can see it's very simple. And the next video, I'm planning on looking at the tasks, but let me know if there's something else you'd like me to cover first. And as a reminder, if you want to see the Oudie N Jake did unboxing, which will be linked above or linked below, or you can check out any of our other product unboxings, the S100, the 9000 lineup, or if you're not into that, you can have a look at our latest video, which is me modifying my LaBelle. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.